Hey,
What's up?
welcome back to Knights of the Nerds
Hello.
Table Live. How you guys feeling
Already
today?
starting with a call to action. Like and subscribe.
Right off the
Like
top.
and subscribe right off the top. Like and subscribe if you haven't done anything else. In fact, if you're looking for a New Year's resolution, liking and subscribing to our channel, excellent thing. That's actually kind of, I would say, should be on the top of everyone's list. So
Yeah,
I
that's
want to,
fair.
Happy New Year, guys. I know we haven't been on one of these lives in a long time, but we just wanted to pop up and say hi to the people. And I'm here
Hello,
with my
people.
two other trusting knights, Deuteronomy. Say hi to the people, Deuteronomy.
Hello. Hi. Happy New Year to you and your family and your iguana.
Iguanas.
Mm,
Who would have an
very
iguana? Is there someone? Do
presumptuous.
you know someone who has an iguana?
I do not. I do know someone who
Really?
may or may not be watching this right now. I don't know if he knows we're doing this. But I do know someone whose partner, girlfriend, I don't know, they don't put labels on it. You know, they're those kind of people.
Oh,
Who
beautiful.
is best friends with a 7-foot long water monitor. That's not a joke.
Best
This girl
friends with
regularly hangs out with a large predatory reptile and gives it head pats.
To each their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this person from Florida?
No, weirdly enough, they are in the very same town that you live in right now, my friend.
Nice. EJ, you could go
Yeah.
hang out with this sea monster as well.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm thinking no. That's
You
just
thinking no?
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my first inclination. A
Instinct.
no on that.
Your fight or
First
flight.
instinct,
Yeah.
hard pass.
Yeah. I'll think about it. Yeah, I also have my boy Josh here. Say hi to the people, Josh.
Hello, everyone, everywhere. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Knights of the Nerds Table.
We are the knights.
Yeah.
You are now sitting
We
at
are,
the nerds.
just in case you were. Exactly. We welcome you guys here. Thank you guys so much for joining. Anyone who's going to hop on. We had a really great year last year. We had a lot of fun, a lot of happy moments, a lot of really interesting moments. I mean, both me and Josh became married men, which is kind of like a huge deal
Absolutely.
for us. Yeah, we had weddings, we had bachelor's party, we had boys time, like everything. We just had a lot going on, But even throughout all that time, we were still able to push out some content, which I was super excited about. We did a lot of fun videos last year. We experimented quite a bit, in my opinion. I think I want to start with Dieter real quick. What was your favorite video that you did last year?
Oh God. I think it was probably. Ooh, that's hard.
Yeah.
I definitely, and I think I've said this on stream before, I always have a preference for the videos that we do where I can explore something that's either extremely niche or something that is really like an in-depth investigation. Well, not investigation. I'm not that kind of YouTuber. But something where I get to explore facts and ideas that maybe haven't been touched on, at least not by our channel. So to that end, I would say my two favorites that I've done so far this year or last year. First, doing the Poker Face video. I think only 126 people watched the Poker Face video. But you know what? That's fine, because that video wasn't for you. That video was for me, because I was right. Poker Face was amazing. We're going to talk about it later in the stream. I think, though, the one that I am probably most proud of more than anything else is...
Ooh, you're going to get us copyrighted. We're going to copyright ourselves in a second.
I think the one that I'm ultimately most proud of is the profile that I did on the career of Christopher Priest. Which I did in February, because EJ came to me and said, "Hey, Dieter, I need you to make a Black History Month video." I was like, "Okay, we'll do this." And as we were talking about before stream, that video also got under 200 views, because clearly the internet hates Black people and y'all need to fix yourselves.
Well, listen, some of us wanted reparations. For White Goat, all I used was Dieter to make a video about Christopher Priest. You know, I have a very low
think,
bar.
I think in the conversation that you had where you were like, "Hey, can you do this?" I believe you did tell me I owed you reparations. You were like, this, you know, it's not going to wipe the slate clean, but you're chipping away at your debt. You know,
Make a little dent in the pile. I really want to say, Dieter, that was a really well done video too. I mean, I know it didn't get as much love, but I think I'll definitely promote it again this February come around because I just think it was a really well done video, and I didn't know much about Chris Priest before, and now
Yes.
knowing all his accomplishments, particularly to the Black Panther comics. Oh man, he was involved in Spider-Man too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I can't remember now. Priest has done a lot of work. He's actually, as I mentioned in the video, he went away from comics for a good about 10 years, and he's pretty much exclusively a DC guy now. His main claims to fame on the Marvel side of things were his work on Black Panther and his, I believe he had a Deadpool run as well.
That's what he did. He had a Deadpool
that was
run.
truly excellent. He took over right after Joe Kelly, and he is kind of the guy who codified the whole idea of Deadpool knows he's in a comic, guys. So yeah, he's awesome. Priest is amazing. Yeah, and I do want to shout out. I doubt he's watching this, but I will shout out Jarrell. Our mutual friend Jarrell is the guy who said, "Hey, have you ever read a Chris Priest book?" And I was like, I've never have. And he was like, "You have got to read Chris Priest's Deadpool. Like, that's the Deadpool run to read." And I did, and it was awesome.
No, I mean, that's I think one of the channel's hidden gems, to be honest, a diamond in the rough to say. And like, again, you did a really good job in that video. And I think I'll definitely probably tune in again and kind of promote it a little bit during February. So, you know, hopefully we'll get some more love with that video as time goes on, you know?
I think it's that one, and it's tied with my Emperor Norton video for videos I'm most proud of that I've done on the channel. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Josh, the fun thing with Josh, Josh is actually, not only has he contributed in being a personality on our lives and also kind of narrate some of these videos, he's also been involved in the editing process in some of these videos, which he's done a bang up job too. Also, shout out to our guy over on Fiverr who does our editing. You know, thank you for all the work you've done this year. You're probably not watching, but just shout out to you. You know, Josh, I know you were involved in a lot of different ways and nights, and you know, you're an invaluable part of the team. What were your favorite videos that you were involved in? Not just on the narration side, but maybe on the editing and kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff as well.
Yeah, so my favorite video that I edited was Watch This Before You Watch Rebel Moon right here. Yep. I was very proud of that. The editing that went into that was a lot of fun, and I challenged myself and stretched myself in some ways I hadn't before. So that was very enjoyable for me. And then another favorite, this isn't going to come to a shock to anybody, but a love letter to Spider-Man. I very, very much enjoyed creating that. And that's a video that from the genesis of this channel, I knew that I wanted to make that video. So, and perhaps before then. So it's nice to have it out there and, you know, for the world to see. And I hope the 342 people that watched it enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I think both of those. So I want to say that your love letter to Spider-Man was done really well. Another hidden gem on our channel, in my opinion. It was well edited. I think, did you edit that one yourself, or was that one we outsourced? Do you remember?
I can tell you in a second. With not going there. Hold on. I believe I did. I believe I did.
Show them our lack of AdSense.
Oh, that one doesn't really, I don't think that screen says it, but we want to go here. We want to go here. It's going to open another.
If you guys wanted to know what the inside of the YouTube studio looks like,
here you go.
Here you go. I actually don't know what the inside is. I do. This is a fun fact for everyone watching. I do not have access to our YouTube studio. That was a deliberate.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me. I just watched the first couple seconds and I could tell it was our editor.
Gotcha.
Okay, fair enough.
Well,
fair enough.
So
yeah.
I feel like I do have to call this out real quick. to kind of play a little inside baseball with everyone. For those who don't know, previously, up until early this year, we have been late this year, we have been predominantly reliant on outsourcing our editing. We have made use of folks, I believe, in India and the Philippines, who have done, in my opinion, really professional, really good jobs. But it has been such a treat to have Josh have the time to be able to dedicate himself to editing personally, because the folks who are doing this for us don't necessarily have the cultural connection to the material. I'm going to be honest, English is not necessarily their first language, and that's fine. So they are not necessarily able to adjust their editing to the tone or the culture of the video that we're trying to create. Whereas Josh's editing is so much more intentional with how it elevates the scripts that all three of us write. So I'm just going to say this out in publicly. Really appreciate the work that those guys have done for us, but I am at the same time so happy and grateful that we're getting to see Josh come into his own as an editor and producer. It's been great.
Yeah, and going forward, we're gonna have a mix of that. You know, a lot of it from a time perspective. Josh does work, and Josh is a dad, so sometimes
we all work full time. We are not getting the AdSense to pay our bills right now. I'm telling you.
Unfortunately, not. Well, we did.
Maybe
make
if some of you watched my Christopher Priest video.
We'll get there, you know. But no, I agree with that. And to piggyback on that, one thing I forgot to even mention is that one big moment of this year is that all of us Knights actually did meet twice.
That's true.
For my bachelor's party and for my wedding. So both of these young gents were right alongside me while I got married and took me through a couple of days of debauchery in Atlanta, Georgia. So that was kind of fun. So we did try to film also
13 other guys. How big was your bridal party, EJ? Tell the world how big your bridal party was.
It was 12 people, okay? I'd make friends.
But there's more at the house
on one side.
Yes. I'm not gonna lie, guys.
It's half a bridal party. Whoa, EJ's halfway there.
Listen, when it came to my wedding, basically it was the portal scene in the Avengers when everyone dropped out. There's like, is there anyone else? Who else do you want? You know, on my left, you know. So thank you for that. But yeah, no, we were actually able to meet in person. We tried to film a little bit of a channel preview. We never really put all of it together. I think partially because we were distracted and partially, you know, we didn't have everything we wanted. But we're still going to work on that.
Airbnb with 13 guys in it.
Yeah.
Only two of whom outside of EJ had any like commitment to this channel or cared about this channel. And so it was not exactly conducive to like quiet on the set. Let's get some room tone. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And I would love to, if we were able to this year, to kind of find some time we're able to do that. And we'll kind of talk about that later. As far as my favorite moments, you know, I have two. So first of all, I will go ahead and say like me making last year, I made a video where I talked about one of my favorite talks on this channel, the Snyderverse or Zack Snyder's version of Justice League, BVS, Man of Steel, and Justice League. And that video, the cool thing about that video is that it actually got views, which was nice. You know, because a lot of times when we have our passion projects, some of our things, they just don't materialize as much, and that happens with all of us here. But that video last year, I gotta give it to you guys. You guys gave us 6,000 views on that Why We Love the Snyderverse video, so had a lot of fun with that. Also, I really enjoyed doing Rebel Moon as well, and Sonic Prime. Sonic Prime, I've enjoyed doing because I wanted to bring more Sonic to the channel. You know, I know that's another cantankerous fandom, the Sonic fandom, as I was saying. If I could combine the spirits of the Sonic fandom and the Snyder fandom together, who knows what type of messes we'll create together.
Here, I only became a good queer and started watching RuPaul's Drag Race. And if I start doing Drag Race videos, we could get Drag Race YouTube here on the channel as well. What could possibly go wrong?
All those fandoms meeting in one spot would just be, you know, absolute utter mayhem. But no, I really did enjoy doing that video. Our editor at the time, he did a great job at listing kind of what I wanted for it, well edited, and people actually came and liked it. So it's always nice when you do a passion project that you're excited about that's not necessarily trending, that you do get some traction on it. We were able to kind of get it there. So they got 6,100 views right now. So some of our top 5 vids. So thank you guys so much for that. We can't wait to continue to do more content in the next coming year. Now, the other thing that was kind of interesting for this year, guys, is that the movie landscape has just changed so much. You know, we're in this post-COVID era, and I don't think Hollywood knows quite what to do, right? We had a strike this year, which was definitely very influential when it came to what movies came out. We also just had box office results, especially in the genre that we like so much, superheroes, that weren't necessarily as successful as we had seen in the past from our big boys at the MCU and the DCEU or the DCU will be going forward. Now, DC, we're kind of used to them having all types of drama. I mean, I think ever since, anything from October of 2022, when Black Adam first came out, we had the Henry Cavill cameo, and weeks later that was ripped from us. Like, we've had nothing but drama and bad news and just promises that things will get better since then. So it's not surprising, but it is a little surprising to see Marvel struggle with some of their movies and not have necessarily the greatest reviews on some of their content. However, I think we all had a great time with a lot of these things, not just Marvel and DC, but there were a lot of good content that came out. Sometimes not directly from them, but like, I know we had some things from Invincible and The Boys and like Doctor Who. We kind of stretched out as a channel as we got into more things, as our audience is getting into more things as well, beyond just the DCEU and the MCU. So I wanted to kind of start with Josh first, and tell me a little bit, Josh, about what you kind of really were excited about as far as like piece of content last year that we covered, or maybe it's not something we covered, but something that you just really connected with.
So, I mean, this sort of question answers itself, because a certain movie came out on June 2nd in the year of our Lord 2023. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse would be that movie. And
we all saw that in the same theater at the same time.
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
I drove
for my wedding
through the night. I'd been on the road for like 12, 14 hours or something, drove immediately to a movie theater, saw Dieter and met him for the first time in person, was like, hey, sorry, I look like I just got out of a car I was in for 14 hours. It's because I did. And then we all watched the movie together, and I didn't fall asleep some way, somehow. But honestly, it was the excitement and joy of me watching my favorite IP on the big screen. And I love that movie. The movie was incredible.
Lived up to the hype.
I can't.
Absolutely.
It did. And they did something that we have talked about this on the channel, like amongst ourselves even. And I've talked with other friends about this, but the first one was so good. It sort of like set the bar so high. And a lot of times when we see movies that have their trilogies or whatever that have sequels, when they set the bar really, really high, they have a really hard time meeting the standard that they set for themselves moving forward. And I feel that Across the Spider-Verse did that. There are some people that still say the first one is better, second one's not as good or whatever. I haven't heard a lot of people say the second one's better. I don't think that it takes a step back at all. I think they did a very good job of delivering what we wanted as far as the animation, the story, like everything they did, the music, it was all done just as well as they did in the first one. And it also I don't think it like fell short. I think it was different enough, and they pushed the boundaries and tried enough new things to be a sequel that you would be looking for in a series like that. So I enjoyed that a lot. I also enjoyed Shazam.
Yeah.
I'm a really big Zachary Levi / Shazam fan. So I liked it. I know it didn't do great at the box office, didn't get great reviews, but honestly, solid movie. Those are probably my two. It's not that I didn't like anything else that came out. I just want to give you guys some room to talk about some of the other movies and shows. So
no, I'll bounce back off
you guys
with you really quick. Like, I think you made some really good choice there. Obviously, from what I understand, you're kind of like a big Spider-Man fan. That's what I've heard about you. Is that true, or can
It
we say
is.
that? Oh, okay.
It's factual.
Never come up on this channel before.
Yeah, there's some allegations out there, Josh. You really love Spider-Man. Can you confirm? So no, Josh is a big Spider-Man guy, and what I think I love about that universe is that it's a fresh take on superheroes. And if superheroes are going to be that genre is going to be impactful in the future, they have to do stuff like what they're doing here. Because not only was the story good, there was great action sequences, the voice acting was superb. And us in the nerd world, we're already used to great animation. Like we have the DC animated universe, we have the multiple DC universe movies like PG-13 or rated R movies that have come out from the comics. We also have there's so many good Spider-Man cartoons that I think really hold up to this day. I'm a sucker for Spectacular Spider-Man myself. The theme song in and of itself will win you over, in my opinion.
Yes.
So it's really good to see normies get to experience what we've been experiencing for a long time in that medium, in animation, and to see that it's still creative. Not only was it creative from an animation perspective, but it becomes more of a cultural moment, but because they get artists and musicians from our world and put them in this movie where we're actually having some music that transcends that movie and gets into our culture as well. That's very important when it comes to some movies. Some movies, that's how they're made, right? Where they'll have certain songs that are just imprinted in our minds. That soundtrack is there forever. I mean, and Spider-Man has a long history of this. I mean, I think every one of us here back in the Tobey Maguire days, I mean, the one Nickelback song we might like is, and they say that a hero save us. I'm not going to stand here to wait.
Oh, no. Our views just dropped. Oh, no. EJ started doing Nickelback karaoke. The algorithm
and
plunged.
I just immediately start thinking about the Evanescence Ben Affleck Daredevil connection from 2003. If you don't remember Bring Me to Life, which is probably Evanescence's biggest hit,
amazing,
has a Daredevil themed music video for reasons.
And Paramore with Twilight, that used to be a huge thing. We
honestly that pairing of the baseball scene with Supermassive Black Hole in which was Muse, actually, not Paramore, in Twilight, that scene is actually, it's fucking fire.
No, and I think that's something that's going to be very interesting. I mean, and you have to continue to evolve. And I think what has happened is that Hollywood has gotten lazy with their superheroes. They just want to have them. They're like, oh, if we just bring capes, people just love them. You used to be able to do that, but the standard for what we expect has risen, and they're going to have to rise to the challenge. And Across the Spider-Verse rises to the challenge, supersedes it, jumps over it, hurdles, whatever you want to call it. They really hit the mark there. So, Josh, I really just want to say I agree with kind of what you're saying on that end of things. Dieter, I'm going to ask you the same question before I kind of end it out. What were your favorite movies or streaming shows of last year? Some we may have covered, or some that you just really had an affinity for?
Yeah, so honestly, when it comes to movies, this year is defined less by the movies I saw and more by the movies I didn't see. I have had a lot going on in my life, particularly in the back half of the year, and also I live in a state where I don't really have any friends, so I don't have anyone to go to movies with. Feel bad for me. And so there were yeah, it should. There were a ton of movies that just, for time reasons or what have you, I didn't get to see that I want to see. So like John Wick 4, Nandor Fodor and the Talking Mongoose, Last Voyage of the Demeter, Sympathy for the Devil. There were a ton of it felt like really interesting indie flicks. It feels like kind of mid and low budget cinema is kind of coming back in a really interesting way. And they're doing things, they're not just doing like little indie dramas, they're doing they're following the lead of A24 basically, and they're following the lead of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and doing stuff with that. I also really wanted to see, I don't know if anyone in this chat saw it, Godzilla -1, which was just doing really gangbusters at the end of the year.
I heard it was really good.
I was going to go see it when I was up visiting my family, and it did not work out because my father has brain damage and can't read subtitles. So,
ouch.
I doubt they're watching this, but just in case anyone that is true, my father had a pretty rough motorcycle accident a couple of years ago, and the man's still sharp as a tack as far as I'm concerned, but he, by his own admission, was like, I don't know if I want to watch a foreign film today, Dieter. And I was like, that's fair. But streaming shows, friends, let's talk about streaming shows, because there have been some great streaming shows this year, and none of them have come from Marvel or DC. So we started the year off with my Poker Face video, which I was really proud of, and we also did a video earlier this year about season 2 of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Absolute best things I've watched all year. Those two shows, particularly because they are showing a trend towards more episodic television, which is something that I'm going to talk more about a little later on in the stream. But it's something I was very, very excited to see. I also would be remiss if I did not mention, when it comes to what am I streaming, what am I watching, the streaming service Dropout.tv. Which, for those who don't know, Dropout.tv is a streaming service that came out of the ashes of the old College Humor YouTube channel. It is.
I remember you put it on from a bachelor's party.
I did. I put it on at the bachelor's party. I was like, "Y'all are gonna watch this." We all enjoyed it. Everyone loved it. Yeah. So
then I came in and I was like, "No, we got to stop this. Man of Steel. Let's go."
No. So Dropout, basically, the stuff they've been doing over the last 2 years is some of the most insanely creative and fascinating stuff on the internet right now. They are taking the mediums of improv comedy and panel shows like Taskmaster, QI, Would I Lie to You, those sorts of things, and just elevating them to a new level. They're one of their kind of flagship shows is a show called Game Changer, which is an improv comedy show where host Sam Reich creates a new game for every episode. And the season finale was they turned their entire studio space into a freaking escape room. It's bonkers how creative they are over there. And they just dropped a new series at the very tail end of last year called Very Important People, which is a one-on-one character-based improv show where host Vic Michaelis interviews another College Humor cast member who has been put in prosthetic makeup. They don't know who they're going to be, and they have to make character up on the spot. And it is, I swear to God, as someone who really, really loves comedy, who loves improv in particular, it is some of, if not the best character-based improv work I have ever seen. So
that's saying
if
a lot,
you're interested, check out. They're not paying, by the way. They're not paying me to say this. I just love this. No, they're not paying me. I would report any freaking. I'm losing my words now. I would report any sponsorships to you, EJ.
Please do. I felt left out.
Right. But seriously, what they're doing is next level, and they have no sign of slowing down. So check out their YouTube channel, see if you like it. If you do, literally, I watch their streaming service at least 3 times a week. It's worth it. Just do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, because one thing I'll say about College Humor, time passed by so quickly, but those guys have been at it for a long time. They're really veterans in this YouTube game in a lot of ways, right? In fact, I would say a lot of our humor is influenced by College Humor. I know they don't necessarily get the name as Dave Chappelle or some stand-up comedians that might be out there, but College Humor, they're really unique guys. They seem like a bunch of theater kids, to be honest, that have just come together and just come up
many
with
of them are
100%.
Oh yeah, it's like Saturday Night Live, but a little bit more creative than Saturday Night Live, at least current modern day Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're very likable personalities, every last one of them. I don't know them by name, but I know them by face. I'm like, oh, I've seen that person before, right? And honestly, every YouTuber out there can kind of learn a little bit from what they've done. And as we grow, I hope to kind of not necessarily emulate them, but kind of borrow from that creative tissue, right? And kind of be able to do some of those same things ourselves as we kind of grow as a channel. So I think you're right on that, Dieter. And like, obviously I didn't watch Poker Face myself, but I've heard other people say it's good. So it makes a lot of sense why those will be kind of
it's so easy to watch. Just literally, if you're bored one day, just throw on an episode. It doesn't have to be the first episode. You can pick any episode, whatever synopsis looks interesting to you. Just throw it on. You'll figure out what's going on immediately. You're great.
Now, as far as my highlights, I was surprised that both of you did not mention Invincible, because where Marvel and DC have kind of slacked a little bit, Invincible season. Oh man, okay. That's
here, EJ. I'll take care of things. Don't worry. I'll take care of things. Here we go. Dieter is in timeout. Dieter
until
timeout. My favorite part is that I can still see his face. Like, I know, EJ and I can still see his face, and we can see the look. Oh, this is great. All right, so do we let him out of timeout now? Is he allowed to come out now?
If he behaves, you know.
Look, this year, I only just watched the first season of The Boys this year. Okay, like,
which was amazing.
It was. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
It's disturbing, but the thing is with Invincible, I like The Boys better than Invincible too, just because I like live action. But Invincible, the animated storytelling is just so good.
Cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a child a little bit. My wife goes and sees me watching cartoons. Goes, "You're still a kid." Like, I'll be sitting on Saturday mornings watching Invincible.
Yeah, see, but my wife watches the cartoons with me, so if she's
but you know your
can't
sister.
Say anything.
No, that's it. If it doesn't have Taylor Swift in it, she's not really interested. You know, Taylor Swift made an appearance on Invincible, then believe me, she would be all for it. But you know, but they have such a great voice cast. I mean, this year they were able to get. Bro, they literally had I can't remember his name right offhand, but the voice actor who does Optimus Prime was on Invincible. I heard the voice immediately and I was like, oh my goodness. That's Optimus Prime.
You just knew it, yeah.
It's Peter something. Peter Cullen? Peter Cullen, maybe?
Yes, thank you.
Yep, Peter Cullen. Yep, that's what it is. So I was just so excited because that's just such a historic and kind of just a pioneer in the voice acting game. Like, he's been voicing Optimus Prime since the cartoons back like 25, 30 years ago, however long those cartoons were. So they were able to bring him in. Mark Hamill had a cameo. I forget the gentleman who did this, but the guy who plays Lex Luthor in the Bruce Timm universe, he's in there. Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown.
He was on the first season, I think.
He was back this time. Like, the voice cast, and of course, we can't forget J.K. Simmons. I mean, that's just a given with the show as well. But the fact that they were able to grab so many A-listers, freaking winners, like, these are people that we have heard before and have done great, not just voice acting gigs, not just historic voice acting gigs, but great on-screen performances of the heroes or the characters that we love. And they've been able to bring this to an IP that was really not all that, popular before it came out. Insane, right? I'm gonna break the rules a bit. I'm gonna double up. I am so excited.
I doubled up.
Yeah.
We all said more than one. You're not breaking any rules. You're good.
Yeah.
This show broke the rules. This show broke the rules, so I can break the rules too. I am so excited in the year of 2023 and now in 2024 that the boys over the pond, across the pond, Doctor Who has been coming back to prominence.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So,
in the words of LA Knight, yeah.
Like, when I was told when David Tennant was coming back, oh my goodness, I felt like a college kid again, because that's kind of the time when David Tennant was doing his run. It was such a long time ago, right? Like he is such a beloved doctor. He is Doctor Who, you know? And so obviously over the last couple of years, after Matt Smith left Doctor Who, there was a little bit of a downturn in regards to viewership and just general like relevance for the show. I do love the other Doctor. I'm a fan of Peter Capaldi. Jodie Whittaker, I'm also a fan of. I think she did a great job. I think she was underserved with some of the scripts she was given, to be honest.
There is no such thing as a bad doctor, only bad writers. There has never been a bad actor or a bad performance. It is the scripts that can make or break a doctor.
Exactly. So, like, they were so great, but, you know, when Jodie went away and David Tennant came in for his regeneration, I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And they made it in a way that was fun and cool. I was a little bit confused. Spoilers about the bi-generation. A little bit confused.
Yeah.
That was wonky, and I could tell, like, I was like, I can't wait to go online because I can't wait to see, you know, what all the nerds are saying about the bi-generation. Like, there's like three versions of David
Russell
Tennant's
T. Davies
now.
trying to have his cake and eat it too. Is be like, no, we didn't kill David Tennant again. He could come back anytime.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Oh, that's surely what they're doing. Because there's like three versions of him. There's like the one with the hand, right, when he grew himself back. So there's that one, and so he's on the other side of the universe with Rose, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. And so then there's this one, and then there's the original one that actually regenerated into Matt Smith. So it's technically like we've been very liberal with the way we've used David Tennant's Doctor, very flexible with this, and I just enjoy it. I cannot say the gentleman's name who's taking over, but he is an absolute
Shidigawa.
And so, like, I really like his portrayal so far. He's going to be a very interesting Doctor, and he's finally a Doctor that I can kind of cosplay in a very convincing way, which I'm excited about. I know that shouldn't matter because, like, if you ask me deep down, so you're like, EJ, do you care if there's a Doctor that's your skin tone that you can cosplay convincing? Because it doesn't matter. Like, I was Batman, and Batman, there has been black Batman, but mostly he's white, right? It doesn't matter. But I don't know, man.
What?
As soon as he had that extra scene where, you know, they redid the very first Doctor generation, where the first Doctor regenerates, he looks over, and there's our 15th Doctor looking there, and he smiles back with that mustache. I'm like, I'm in.
The only thing I gotta say about Shooty, and I don't know if this is like, I'm not gonna say this is a bad thing. It's just it is my challenge to him as an actor. I want to see if he can go through an episode of the show without having sexual chemistry with literally everything on the show. That man is about, like, clearly Shooty Gatwa fucks. These are the facts. These are indisputable. Because that man, the way that man looked at that giant goblin, like the goblin that's like my size, and he was gonna fuck that goblin. I fully believe it, and it was going to be consensual, and it was going to be enjoyable, and it was going to be fulfilling, and it was going to change that goblin's life. Tell me I'm wrong. Watch the scene back. Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't. He's just such an interesting guy. I never watched him in his show. Was it Sex Education? I never watched it on Netflix.
Yes, his show's called Sex Education.
Yeah,
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
But I just enjoyed it. It made me really love Doctor Who. Like, over the break, I went and binged a lot of my favorite Doctor Who episodes. I binged Christopher Eccleston's The Empty Child. If you remember that that episode. Yes. I watched David Tennant episodes. I watched Matt Smith and his Weeping Angels episodes again. Like, it rejuvenated my love for Doctor Who, and so I was really enjoyable for that. Also, again, we mentioned before, but loved the fact that our boy Zachary Edward Snyder came out with Rebel Moon. It hit a lot of good viewership. Critics didn't love it, but we're back. As soon as I saw that it dropped and had like 30% views for critics, like 30% of the Rotten Tomatoes, I was like, oh yeah, baby, we're back. They had loved Army of the Dead, and Zack Snyder.
You're like that Snyder I know and love. 30%
like, oh, baby, we're back.
Those are the bangers. Those are all the bangers for EJ.
See, I don't know about y'all, but I'm waiting for the Snyder cut.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that Netflix is smart enough to be like, no, guys, we're gonna put out a 2.5 hour one. They're going to give you the Snyder cut later on. Don't
Is
worry
that
about
no? Hang on. Is that smart? Is deliberately
viewership
making
numbers?
your
It's never-
movie worse by cutting it down so you can feed off of what is admittedly one of the biggest online movie movements in like comic book movie fandom, but also is a complete and total anomaly that will never happen ever again, is trying to artificially create another group of freaking mental cases. Like,
Netflix is a
we've
mad
talked
doing
about
that.
it on stream before. If you liked the Snyder Cut, that's fine. All I'm saying is there are people out there who are all about Zack Snyder who need to calm their tits.
They do. That's someone who
absolutely
loves
do.
Zack Snyder. Like a lot of times, I'll go into like a fan, like I'll love Zack. I love it. Something that I'll go to a fan group for, and I'll be like, "Oh, is that how I sound? Oh, that's a little."
Yes.
Yes.
You'll be like,
Can
"Oh,
confirm.
I was like, no, I don't like this. This feels creepy. Let me go do something else. You know, I need to walk outside.
He's just like, I need a shower.
This is a little much. And again, I've already said this. I'm someone who, some of my first internet connections were in chat rooms or like in like threads talking about Star Wars, and those are some of the most
Is that how you met my
threads of all
sister?
time. I wish, right? But yeah, like it's just kind of like it. Fandom can be tough, but the Snyder fandom as a whole has kind of brought a name for itself. And it's their own fault for kind of being a little bit obnoxious at times for no good reason. Like they lost the plot. A lot of people lose the plot sometimes when it comes to that. I think COVID was happening. We were all at home, and some people just lost the plot. I think it's just great we got a movie called Zack Snyder's Justice League. That shouldn't have happened. Like the fact that movie exists is just something that shouldn't have happened.
Absolutely insane that happened.
Yeah, but
and it's never going to happen again.
We were, if you remember, we were joking about it. Like, and we were in Jess. You were like, EJ, if the Snyder Cut ever comes out, I'll watch it with you. And I was joking with you. Like, we were laughing back and forth. And then one day I pick up my phone. I'm like, wait, what? We're actually doing this. I
did. I committed to it. I did watch the whole thing with you.
Yeah. So no, I really did enjoy Rebel Moon. Not in spite, because I feel like the ending, it was a little chop. I think Dieter, as weird as it is, I think this would be your favorite Zack Snyder movie. I really think you would like Rebel Moon, actually.
I'm waiting. I will watch it because I know you. You'll never get off my back about it if I don't. But I am waiting for the Snyder Cut. I'm not gonna watch this weird.
You're gonna be like,
wants me to watch so that I feel bitter about the fact that I didn't get the proper version of the movie. No, give me the full version of the movie or fuck off.
It was a very.
I'm spicy today. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm so spicy today.
Great world building. I know that a lot of people said it was somewhat derivative from Star Wars, Dune, and a couple other properties, but what I think people have forgotten is that a lot of our properties are derivative. Like even Star Wars itself is very derivative from Seven Samurai.
Famously,
Star
Wars famously is just a ripoff of Kurosawa films in space.
Correct. Oh, 100%. This thing is now is that there's just more. Yeah, there's just more of it out there, so we know a little bit more about the properties. But like, yeah, Star Wars is definitely kind of a ripoff of that. But yeah, no, that was kind of my favorite moments and some of my favorite stuff from what came out last year. Now, I wanted to dig into this topic a little bit more. We've talked about this at length a couple of times, and it just keeps on bringing up. Dieter, we've all been big fanboys of the MCU and the DCU. Now, the MCU and DC are going through changes coming up in the next year as far as how much content is coming out. DCU even more changes. In fact, we're only getting one of each universe next year. Can you believe that? We're getting the Deadpool 3 movie from Marvel. That's the only Marvel cinematic movie we're getting next year. We're getting some shows, but the only movie that's going to be put in theaters, which I think is going to be a blast. And I'm going to say it here. I think Deadpool 3 is going to be the highest grossing film of 2024. I'm just going to go ahead and lay it down right there. Just going to let everyone know that's going to happen. Get used to it. It's okay. We'll all laugh. We'll cry. It'll be one of the best movies of all time. I'm excited for it. I think everyone here is excited for it. But with all the changes going forward at Marvel and DC, I'll start with Marvel at first because I think DC is a larger conversation. What do you want to see from Marvel from this year going forward to kind of get off kind of the mid path they've been on so far?
So, firstly, I don't believe that Marvel has been on a mid path. I disagree with that
Ooh.
completely. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a blind fanboy. And I'm not going to say that the current crop of Marvel productions don't have their issues. But in terms of their movies, I will die on the hill that I still do not believe that Marvel has released a bad movie. And I'm including, I remember Quantumania. I watched Quantumania. Was
I
it
thought that
great?
was good,
No. Was it
actually.
life-changing? No. It was fine.
Yeah.
And it was fun,
Yeah.
and I had a good time with it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a masterpiece, and The Marvels, frankly, was an absolute delight. And if you didn't watch it, you are missing out, and I really think you should. That being said, I do think that Marvel taking a year off and only releasing Deadpool 3, which is something that is kind of its own thing, even though it's going to be MCU, it's something like it's a big blowout spectacle, which is probably what Marvel needs right now, is a really good thing. Because right now, the conversation about Marvel and DC, and Marvel in particular, is do we have superhero fatigue? And on one hand, I'm like, no, I don't think we have fatigue in the sense that the genre is played out. I think there's still a lot more you can do with the genre.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I will say, and I will freely admit, I have not watched Loki season 2. I have not watched What If season 2, and I have not watched Echo yet, because it is getting to the point where watching all of the shows has started feeling a little bit like a chore, even for me. And I'll watch them eventually because I am passionate about these characters. I do want to know where their stories go. I do want to see, God, I want to see Vincent D'Onofrio back as Wilson Fisk, because that man can do no wrong. But at the same time, I think giving us a break, giving us absence, will make our hearts grow fonder. We'll remember how much we love the Marvel products. So that's, I genuinely think that's the best thing they can do. I'm hinting this again because it's coming soon. I have a lot of opinions about what Marvel can do with their TV shows to make them kind of easier to swallow if they're going to keep doing TV shows. I have a whole video coming up about this. We're going to talk about it in a minute. But the one thing that is not in the video that I'm putting together that I do want to mention here that I think Marvel needs to do is I think they need to stop putting their TV shows on streaming. And I believe this is true for honestly a lot of streaming services. Because from a business perspective, Disney has admitted that they are reaching a point of diminishing returns on their streaming services. They are no longer seeing major increases in subscribers, and of course they're not. There's a finite number of people on the planet who can afford all of the streaming services we have. That line was never going to go up indefinitely. And so I think, and I'm not alone in this because I know YouTuber Patrick Willems mentioned this on one of his videos last year.
Love that you pointed me to him, by the way. I've been watching his videos.
I did point you to him because he's a great essayist. Absolutely huge.
Amazing.
I love watching him.
I'm jealous of him a little bit.
Girl, right? I wish I was that smart. But one of the things he mentioned was if we can't make income from subscribers, you need to make income other ways. And I think over the next couple of years, we're already seeing it, a return to ads on the platform and a return to debuting shows on networks where they can make ad revenue, basically. And I am hugely in favor of that, actually, because think about when you go on a streaming service, when you turn on Netflix, when you turn on Paramount Plus or Peacock or Max or whatever, what do you usually watch? Are you usually watching the new shows, the big new thing? Or are you going back and watching reruns of Friends and NCIS and what have you? Because for most Americans, they're going back and watching the old shows. One of the top shows on Netflix this year was freaking Suits. Are you kidding? Suits.
It's had a revival, actually, because like Suits was out of syndication for a little bit. When it went to Netflix, it kind of blew up again. I'm just getting into Suits now. It's a show that, honestly, Sarah's told me that's a show that I would just like. Just everything about that show is something that's
It's a USA Blue Sky drama. Of course you would. It's from the same family of products as Psych.
Yeah, Psych. Yeah, exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I love the
Dule Hill's actually on there.
Blue Sky era. What's that?
Dule Hill was actually on Suits for a short run.
Nice. Yeah, the Blue Sky era of USA programming is a conversation for another time. I'll probably do a video on it eventually. But the point is, I believe that the future of streaming is going to be as an archival service. You put your line of products on there and people can go back and revisit it for basically an entry fee every month. And your new stuff, they're going to be putting it back in places where it can be supported, not just by subscriptions, but by ad revenue. I think that's the only way for these productions to continue to be feasible.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my whole rant about streaming.
So I'll get to you, Josh, and I'm just want to respond to what Dieter just said there. I think a lot of what you said is very interesting because we're seeing a point right now where a lot of the streamers are struggling. The only ones that are doing fairly well, even if they don't want to admit it, Netflix is still doing okay. Netflix is still kind of has a pretty ironclad. Prime is next. Prime is doing all right. In time, you're going to see Hulu and Disney Plus merge. Like Disney already owns a part of Hulu. They're not a full owner of Hulu, but give it time. The mouse is very patient. Before you know it, those other shares will be brought out. Give it time. And the problem is that when you're making all these high production streaming shows, there's only so much you're going to make back. Like, for instance, to give you a great example, one of the things that people were kind of criticizing, they were like, well, if you're going to give Zack Snyder the money to create the Snyder Cut, right, which took a lot of money to get put back together, how are you going to make that money back as subscribers? And you're not. Like that 130 a million that they gave him to finish it up, you're not going to make that back in subscribers. That's just impossible. Say if you had everyone you knew, or that's almost impossible to do. Which how you do make money from shows like that and Game of Thrones is through merchandise, shirts, action figures, collectibles. That's how you make the money back in a lot of these different
physical
ways.
media as well, DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Like so many studios have stopped doing DVD and Blu-ray. Like, do that.
There's a lot of
there's a
money to be
market
made
for
in
it
that.
still.
And it's becoming rare now, and that's why people are getting back into it. I think you're right in a lot of ways as far as how we're going to see TV evolve going forward, because the only things I watch live is football and basketball in any sport.
Wrestling for me, yeah,
correct.
That's
the only thing I watch
live.
A lot of things like NCIS and stuff like that. That stuff I wouldn't really watch, but if I'm at my grandmother's and she just has television on, like that's the I guess the goal of like channels like TV Land, right, where you have all these older sitcoms on
TV Land,
syndication.
Ion,
all those things that are just kind of just
all
playing in the background. So like it's hard because I'm not necessarily gonna always turn on the TV and say, "Oh, let me watch Friends now." But if Friends is on television, I'll watch it if that makes sense, right? So I think we're going to see some changes in that area because they're going to have to make money. There's always a strife going on where like the actors want to make money. They want to be able to keep their likeness with AI going around and kind of confusing things even more. In regards to that, we even have the strike this year. That's another conversation. Like, how do
we
you balance
do not
that
have
out?
time for the AI conversation today. Oh my god.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, how superheroes play a part in that. I'm not on the line. I know Martin Scorsese, he's one of my favorite directors. I love Martin Scorsese. The problem is I don't get to talk about him as much because everyone loves him. You know what I mean? So if I just sat here and talked about how much I love Martin Scorsese.
EJ.
Oh no!
Not cinema.
Here we'll.
I know. I went out for a second. I'm back now. So obviously, Martin Scorsese has famously panned superhero movies. He says they're not cinema; they're just playgrounds, and some of them are. But some of them are actually works of art. You know, I think that movies like The Dark Knight, in particular.
I mean, even if they are playgrounds are pretty sick, bro.
Yeah,
but he doesn't feel like
what
a
playground.
What needs to happen is people need to stop asking Martin Scorsese about superhero films. Because they're
Yeah.
only asking him that because they know he's gonna say, and he's gonna speak his truth. I don't think he's being hateful.
Yeah.
I think he's got a real, well-founded opinion about the impact that blockbusters have had on
Yeah.
the film industry. But they know they could get clicks off of it. And so just stop
Yeah.
talking to Martin Scorsese. Leave Martin Scorsese alone.
Let him make a 4-hour movie with Leonardo DiCaprio somewhere about a drunk cab driver. Just let him do his thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Let him
it's
do
just-
his thing.
And I get the criticism to a certain extent. I even said this. The Marvelization of content has been kind of annoying because Marvel has become popular with their formula, but it's a Marvel formula for a reason. It works best at Marvel, right? People just want to
Mhm.
copy that, but all it does, it makes it a fake and weird, like, secondary choice compared to the original product that is the Marvelization. So I understand
Like
that, and it's also
2016's Joss Whedon. Justice.
correct. It doesn't feel good because I've seen this somewhere else and I've seen it done better, you know? So, like, that's the one thing I will give him is, like, I do want people in this genre of sci-fi to not just have the ghost of Joss Whedon whispering in your ear when you're doing the script every time. Do something a little different, right? We don't have to quip every 2 seconds. We can treat it as we can have fun, but we don't have to make fun all the time. And that I agree with. So I like what you said there, Dieter. Josh, I want to go to you real quick, particularly on the Marvel side of things. I know the great thing about you, Josh, is that your boy Spidey is the brightest shining star over there. He's a model pupil. You know, the two biggest Marvel events as of late, Across the Spider-Verse and, of course, No Way Home, where he gets the old boys Toby and Andrew together. You guys kicked it out the park. So we might be tired of Marvel. We might be tired of capes. But Spider-Man doesn't have a cape so far, and he's been kicking ass. Your boy's doing well, right? As a singular IP, not just Marvel or DC, but as a singular IP, Spider-Man is actually the highest grossing superhero IP of all time. As himself, he's even outgrossed Batman. So
I'm really surprised to hear he's beating out Batman. That really surprises me.
Yeah. So I wanted to get your opinion on this, particularly on the.
It doesn't
Spider-Man
surprise me at all. I just like to throw that out there. No surprise in this corner of the room.
It's Josh. Like, I always believed in him.
I always knew it would come down to this.
So I'd love to hear
there's
from you,
a
Josh, from
there's
that
a
point of view,
popular
not just with Spider-Man, but like with everything else. Like, how do you feel about this whole discussion?
So first of all, as far as streaming stuff goes, I think that some way, somehow, someone needs to consolidate these streaming services, because Dieter hit the nail on the head when you talk about, like, more and more. Like, it used to just be like you could have Netflix and you were good. And I was like, well, now you got to get Hulu. And then it was like, well, now you got to get Prime. Okay, now you got to get Peacock. Now you got to get Dropout. Now you got to get, like, the list goes on.
To be fair, you do have to get Dropout. You have to get Dropout.
And I have
That's a whole
it because of
different
you.
conversation.
I have it because of
Dropout
you.
is
Okay.
amazing. You do.
So consolidation of the services would be great, but I understand why it's gotten to this point. It's very obvious, right? It's about the financial aspect of it, where it's like, well, look at what these people are doing. They're streaming stuff, and we can get the rights to stream different things that people are interested in. We can sell subscriptions. And not only that, once we build stuff up, we could start making original content. And obviously that became a big thing where Netflix was cranking out movie after movie after movie. And I think they're seeing some backlash on that as well, because they're having a lot of, like, well, we spent, X million or X billion, whatever, dollars on movies, and the money coming back into us is nowhere near, those numbers. And obviously, simple math tells you can't spend more money than you make over a long period of time and remain successful and remain a business. So definitely things need to change. So I would love to see
David Zaslav.
I would love to see a consolidation. I would love to see a consolidation of the streaming services some way, somehow. I don't know how possible it is. We'll see. I think it's going to be, what it reminds me of is the gaming industry, actually. I don't know how much you guys are into this at all, but for example, like the two big heads in the gaming industry, for consoles specifically, and probably in general, you've got Microsoft and you've got Sony. And for a long while, Sony has been kicking Microsoft's butt, like bad, like real bad. They've been kicking their butt in sales numbers, exclusive games, deals, blah, blah, blah. Microsoft just bought like 50 different studios.
Yeah,
and they're trying to like
Obsidian, they bought everybody.
Yep.
They're trying to come back. Now, I think that if the streaming services can kind of do something like that, that'll help alleviate some of those issues. But a lot of what Dieter said and EJ said, I think you both had really good points on like what they could do to improve their own revenues, but as well as like the enjoyment of the viewers and us being able to consume this content at a rate and a price that is like doable to and still have, you know, a life outside of watching and consuming content. So as far as like what I'm looking forward to specifically, for me, the answer is very similar for both DC and Marvel. Marvel, on the one hand, one thing that I think that they did absolutely right, and I am so very excited, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I think I am probably in the majority, bringing back the street level heroes from the Netflix shows and weaving them into their universe. And now as these other shows are coming out and other movies, etc., that these characters are showing up in, I think this has been a really positive direction for them to go in. I would love to see them to continue to go in that direction. I like the balance of street level and, oh my God, we're in space fighting for the universe. I love the paradigm there. I love the difference between the two, because you can see everything on either end and everything in between. And I think Marvel is going through a reset much in the way DC is. Theirs is a little different because it's not a hard reset. We're still in the same universe, but now we've introduced multiple other multiverses. And how do we build now? Okay, so we had some people die, we had some people retire, we have some old guy that may or may not be on the moon in some base, who knows. We have these characters that we loved for over 10 years and built up to this huge crescendo. So now it's like, okay, we're starting over again. The next musical piece has begun. So we need to build this symphony up to another crescendo, and it needs to either be as good or even better than what we did before. Otherwise, we're just falling short. So I really want to see them continue to smoothly build out this sort of soft reset that they're doing. And I think the steps that they've taken so far have been decent. I don't think they've all been surefire, like every step is a step forward, but I think there's been more forward steps than backward steps for Marvel. DC is a dumpster fire, and I don't really have a good answer other than just get your crap together.
In gun we trust. That's the only answer.
But I don't even know if that's going to happen. I mean, they're like, nobody even cares about Aquaman, and it's sad because the first one was the highest grossing film that they had, and the second one was a bomb. Nobody cared about it, and I understand why. And go ahead.
No, go for it, Josh. Finish what you're saying. Yeah, finish what you were saying. There's a delay. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's all good. So I just think that whatever DC does, they need to sort of start from the ground up, and that's the idea. That's what they're doing. But EJ touched on this, Dieter touched on this. We've all said this before. They need to do their own thing. They can't look at Marvel and look at Marvel's success and just say, let's do that. What they need to do is say, let's do that, aka let's make the same amount of money or more, but not let's do what they're doing. I think leaning into the dark and the grit and some of that stuff that I make fun of EJ for because it's funny to do so, but leaning into that more, I think is better. I think what DC can do that can really rocket them to the top, or at least have an actual fight against Marvel, because let's be honest, it's not even a fight right now. They need to focus on the individual characters and putting actresses in place that can deliver like Heath Ledger like performances, because that's what's gonna rocket this into the next stratosphere. If you can get people that are gonna deliver individual character performances that make you fall in love with again or fall in love with for the first time villains and heroes. Because I'm like I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I'm going to say it. On a character by character basis, when you compare DC to Marvel, DC is better. When you talk about their villains and their heroes, character by character. I'm still a Marvel boy first. I still love Spider-Man above all else.
He speaks facts.
But my honest opinion is character by character DC has over. I think that they need to lean into that. So that's what I want to see. I'll kick it to Dieter next since he's shaking his head and wants to argue with me.
Hold on,
Before
we get to Dieter, I did want to pivot just a tad bit. I want Dieter to answer, but I had a little bit of a thing I wanted to do first. The first thing I wanted to say, Josh, is that is the most truthful thing you've ever said. And honestly, I just don't know if you're going to top what you just said in your life. So that's just really
okay. Anyway, shut up, EJ.
It's conversation. But go ahead, Dieter.
I do not agree that DC has a better necessarily roster of characters, or at least a deeper roster of characters than Marvel in terms of fully fleshed out characters. I disagree completely, because I think, firstly, in order for you to say that, you have to pretend the X-Men don't exist, because X-Men, you've got at least 12 absolutely beloved, fully fleshed out characters there. But that is a subject for another stream. What I will say, what I do agree with, is in terms of character roster, DC has the most story, the most culturally important roster of characters in America this side of the Walt Disney Company's Fab Five.
Yep.
Superman's been around since the 1930s. Batman's been around since the 1930s. Green Lantern, in one form or another, has been around since the 1930s. These are characters who have quite literally 20 years seniority over any Marvel character not named Namor the Submariner, Captain America, or Human Torch. And to not give those individual characters the respect they deserve, I absolutely agree, is a mistake and is doing a disservice to both the characters and the audience.
Yeah, so we actually agree with each other, Dieter. So hearing you were more nuanced in your explanation. So my point wasn't saying quantity. I wasn't saying there was more characters that were good in DC. It wasn't a quantity thing. It was more of like specifically, like when you weigh them all out, if you were to weigh, we're taking numbers out of it. No, there's no numbers here. It's just the character for character. I was giving the nod to DC for a lot of the reasons that you said.
In terms of cultural relevance, I love the Avengers. I will always love the Avengers. They cannot hold a candle to the Justice League. You got to keep in mind, until the mid 2000s, the Avengers were like Z-list characters.
Basically,
you know who the Avengers in the 90s were? They were people like Black Knight. Y'all remember Black Knight from Eternals? No, you don't. Don't lie. Nobody remembers Black Knight.
No, we don't.
They were characters like, freaking, what's the name of that girl who turned into a panther? That's gonna really bother me. I'm gonna let us move to the next session. I'm gonna let you know when I find that lady that turned into a panther that one time.
No, I mean, I like where you guys went, because I was going to kind of go in a different lane. I wanted to hit the DCU question, but I wanted to hit it in a different way. I know I've been going to Dieter first, so I was actually going to pose this question to Josh. I want to set the stage first, as I always do, because I'm a dramatic theater kid energy person. Someone told me that my job recently that I have theater kid energy. I don't know what that means, but probably something terrible. So here's the stage. You know what? I'll dig into that. What does that mean?
Silverclaw. Her name is Silverclaw. Y'all remember Silverclaw?
I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't.
You remember Triathlon? No, you don't. You remember Jack of Hearts? No, you don't. Thank you, Wikipedia, for reminding me these people's names, because nobody remembers them. That's from the 90s that these characters were there. Anyways, please continue, EJ.
Yeah, so I want to set the stage a little bit. So DC this year was actually more active when it came to actually movies coming out than Marvel was. So
weirdly enough,
they had Shazam, They had the best superhero movie of all time, The Flash.
He's actually being facetious this time.
Yeah, according
He's
to Tom
actually
Cruise.
being facetious.
According to Tom
Thankfully,
Cruise, it was the best.
Tom Cruise and like 4 other really famous
Yeah, you know
people that are
what
friends.
else? You know what else Tom Cruise believes? In Scientology.
That is a pretty good.
You're trusting that man to tell us what we should believe? No.
We got Blue Beetle, which Blue Beetle, in my opinion, was underserved. That was a better movie than what he was
Blue
given.
Beetle
Another one that I
slapped.
wanted
Blue
to
Beetle
see
was
that
good.
I never got around to.
It was good. I did
I've been
enjoy
a
it.
bad
There was
nerd.
definitely issues, but it was solid.
Yeah. And Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom was deserved. Have either of you watched it yet? Have either of you watched it?
So I saw
I
like
honestly
the end
forgot.
credits from behind the movie
Yeah.
theater.
I remember you saying that. So the issue I have, Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom was chopped up in the editing room. At one point, Michael Keaton Batman was going to partner along Jason Momoa. At another point, Ben Affleck was. In fact, they even had a whole fight scene with Ben Affleck's Batman, who's going to fight underground with them. Back when Ben Affleck's supposed to come back, if you remember, Jason Momoa made this huge deal that Ben Affleck is back. He made a picture of it on Instagram. You remember that, Josh? You remember that? The time far, far away. I didn't dream that up. That was like a fever dream I had. That's something that actually happened, right?
This is making my head hurt.
Yeah, it is so crazy. And then on top of that, we have infamous Amber Heard, a part of this movie as well. With all that going forward, Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom actually made more money than any other DC film this year. Because overall, his film before that was a little bit popular. So there were a lot of kids who went to it. It's at $340 million right now, total grossing, which is more than anything they've ever done this year. To give you an example, Man of Steel, who people thought Man of Steel a little bit underperformed, made $663 million, twice as much as Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom did this year, just to show you the big difference. So obviously, I've had a lot of people have had some differences in how James Gunn has approached the issue. The hard reboot wasn't necessarily the worst critical decision. Now, the problem was how it was done. I think you can say is probably one of the swampiest, just weirdest way possible, where actors didn't even know they had been cut. Gal Gadot's like, oh yeah, we're totally doing Wonder Woman 3. And he's like, no, you're not. Henry Cavill, hey, I'm back, guys. Just kidding. Ben
Honestly, I don't know if y'all remember what it was like in 2011 when DC relaunched and did the New 52 relaunch. This is honestly par for the course for them.
It was just absolute utter chaos. And the way it was delivered out was not necessarily ideal. And those movies are kind of left to crash and burn. He's bringing some things back. For whatever reason, Viola Davis is still Amanda Waller in this universe. So she's going to have her own television show. And Peacemaker, for whatever reason, is coming back. Peacemaker was okay. I didn't think he was good enough.
Well, because it's James Gunn's baby.
Yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily story-wise makes much sense, but whatever. The biggest thing that I think will be interesting, because I like a lot of James Gunn's movies. I'm not as much of I don't really love Joss Whedon and Waititi. I'm not a big fan. Dieter knows that. But Gunn is actually
still don't know how to pronounce his name.
Taika Waititi. But yes,
Taika Waititi.
He's not relevant enough for me to care. But at any rate,
he says that every time. He says that every time.
But at any rate, what I think is going to be
chill.
interesting is that, like, the biggest problems I had with his movies before, like the DCU, the Suicide Squad was kind of whatever. I didn't think it was that interesting. Peacemaker was fun, but I also don't just sometimes think he undercuts characters for comedic purposes. Like the fact that Viola Davis's Amanda Waller got knocked out in the Suicide Squad and she didn't do anything about it. To me, that feels weird because what sets her apart as a character is that she's badass. She kind of sees 10 steps ahead of everyone. So you can't undercut her like that for a joke and then make her seem like a badass. One of the things that, even though the original Suicide Squad was not the best movie ever, that one scene where she kills everyone in the room so that they don't have clearance to know the information, that just shows how ruthless and how dangerous of a character she is. I don't necessarily think sometimes James Gunn understands that with some of his characters and he undercuts it. That's my genuine gripe with the way he does movies. if that all makes sense. If all you gentlemen, I'm being fair on that. That's kind of my thing. But the biggest thing that I'm going to think with the DCU going forward, when the DCEU started to have problems from a financial perspective, it was when they steered away from their legacy characters like Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Superman and Batman. They began to do things like Birds of Prey or Shazam 1 and 2. Although we love those movies, they didn't do well financially.
We loved Birds of Prey too, EJ.
We did, but it didn't do well at the box office. I'm just speaking facts.
America did not love Birds of Prey. The next winner's table loved Birds of Prey, whether they like it or not.
Now the problem is, like a lot of those movies where we're having these Blue Beetle or anything like that didn't do well. Yeah, we're rebooting the universe. We're starting with Superman, but if you look at his slate, a lot of it is stuff that isn't well known to the general audience, like Creature Commandos, and some of these other stuff. Like it seems like we're starting under a new title, but even though we do have Batman Brave and the Bold, at least we have something from legacy characters. A lot of these shows, if you look at his slate, is actually still doing similar stuff where we might have trouble with the box office because these characters just aren't as recognizable, and it's not shown so far that just because James Gunn is in charge of something that it makes money. Like the Suicide Squad did not make money, even though it was partially during COVID. The Godzilla movie that came out at the time made 3 times as much money and during the same circumstances. So it's not proven that under that title that just makes money in and of itself. So with all those challenges being the case, and that we do have some success in the DCU, but it's not with the DC movies that we love. It's about the Batman with Robert Pattinson. That's been successful. Joker, which is coming out with this sequel this year, that's been successful. Those parts have been successful. What do you think that James Gunn can do differently, and why will it be successful in 2025 when it comes out, Josh? So as I'm talking about this, what do you think he needs to do?
I already answered this. I already answered this. I gave this answer already. They need to focus on their characters, and they need to expand upon what little hype, what little success that they've had. But the thing is that they're not doing that. So you're talking about how Joker, Batman, like those things have been successful. They were good. People liked them.
Yeah.
They're their own thing, and they're going to remain their own thing. And we're supposed to have a Penguin TV show and whatnot, but like that's great, but none of it ties in. And I think if you're trying to build, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I asked the question improperly. So what I wanted to say was, with all those other worlds, do you think that competes against their main brand? Like having a Robert Pattinson Batman, does that undercut whatever DCU Batman is going through, the stories that he's
What's going on, Brian? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Just want to say hi real quick. Shout you out. James Gunn, I trust you and I don't know, maybe 5 other people.
Sorry, Josh. I phrased it wrong. That's what I meant to say.
In James Gunn, I hope. In James Gunn, I do not trust, but I do hope.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it undercuts it. Well, it does with what they currently have, because you can't have 2 different Batmans. It's not, and if you do, they need to be the same universe. And what are they going to do? They're going to just copy Marvel and do like, well, listen, we were supposed to do this with Flashpoint, but we didn't because reasons. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this guy run really, really fast. He's going to run so fast that the multiverse is going to break open, and then Robert Pattinson Batman and all these other Batmen are going to get together, and it's going to be awesome. And it's not, it's going to suck. So I think what they need to do is, they're having success with these individual IPs. It's fine for you to continue pushing that, but at some point you have to cut those off too, because you're not going to be able to build the universe that you want to build and have Robert Pattinson running around Gotham doing his thing, brooding and doing whatever it is Batman does, eyeshadow, etc. Listening to Kurt Cobain and just being miserable. But yeah, so I think that, yes, that's my personal answer. Push forward with those IPs for now, like those things that you have going that are successful and working well. Continue with those, but have a real, actual plan for capping it and then going into this next window, because you're already building your DCU with whatever the heck you have on the horizon. You've got a Superman movie, great, cool. You've recast Superman. who's going to be your Batman? Because you can't have Superman, not have Batman. You can't have.
I don't know.
You can't have DC without Batman. You can't do it. It's against the rules. You can't do it. So.
Well, they did it for a couple of years.
How did it work?
Not well.
Yes, exactly. What has been like, EJ, like, how good are the Christian Bale Batman movies? Not even in the superhero world.
Yeah.
How good is Dark Knight as a movie, period? It's one of the best
think that
movies
if the
of all
aliens
time,
come
period.
down and see us, I want to show them that movie to show what our cultures can share.
Yeah, like that movie is incredible. Like set aside whatever Martin Scorsese says about superhero movies and whatever his opinion is. That movie is an excellent movie, whether you love, hate, or anything in between heroes and all that entails. That movie is excellent. That movie has Batman in it. So Batman, we need Batman, and we need the Bat family. We've talked about this before, you and I think Dieter was probably a part of the conversation too, but the Bat family, we need the Bat family, and we need it on the screen. Why do you keep teasing me with Nightwing? Why can I not see Nightwing? I want to see Dick Grayson kicking butt in Gotham with a big blue bird on his chest. Like, give me Nightwing.
No, right. I agree with everything you just said, and like having a Bat family would be so clutch. Like the best thing we've gotten on that was not even the best thing, because I don't know what we were doing before the 2000s with Burton and the Schumacher movies, whatever that was. Like, I think I accepted it at the time, but I can't accept it seriously as something in the universe. Yeah, we do. We need Dick Grayson. We need Damian Wayne. And to be fair, Damian Wayne is supposed to be in the new Batman movie, so we'll see how that turns out. Dean, I want to flip it to you as well and ask a similar question. Like, does that undercut? And there was a point, even though they decided against it, that they were thinking about maybe just bouncing this universe out of the Robert Pattinson universe rather than have it separate. But the director at the time, Matt Reeves, really wanted his to be an enclosing. He's like, listen, we don't have those fantastical elements like Superman in this universe. So we want it self-contained, like the Dark Knight Rises and the Dark Knight trilogy, so that it isn't burdened.
That doesn't mean you can't add the fantastical elements. Like,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what he said.
Yeah, well,
I'll take it to you.
Y'all remember the first season of Arrow? Like,
yes,
there were no fantastical elements in that. Y'all remember the last season of Arrow?
Yes.
A little bit more fantastical, weren't it?
100%.
That being said, like,
a lot more teen drama at that point as well. But yes, continue.
That's true. At this point, like, I think doing as much streamlining for DC is possible, or is necessary. I think having the most cohesive vision you can get is better. Do I think if Robert Pattinson is running around in his own series of movies, it's going to completely kill James Gunn's universe? No, because from what I have seen of the Batman, and I did not finish it because it was a very dark, very dreary movie, and I was in the middle of a depressive episode when I was watching it. I think the difference in filmmaking style and aesthetic is going to be big enough that it's not going to cause too much confusion. And as long as the movies themselves continue to be excellent, I don't think the Matt Reeves movies will have an issue. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the more streamlined everything is, the better it's going to be. I also just want to shout out Brian, who mentioned real quick that he's more excited for the Riordan universe than Marvel or DC at the moment. And honestly, that's fair. The new Percy Jackson adaptation, I've seen a couple episodes of it.
It looks kind of neat.
It is extremely well done. It has a great cast, including Edge, the wrestler Adam Copeland, as Ares, and I haven't watched his episode yet, but I'm really excited for it. But I also do think that Brian kind of alludes to a important point for both Marvel and DC, which is right now, Marvel and DC are kind of the old guard, they're kind of getting clunky. They're kind of getting bogged down in their own weight. And there are some new up and comers. There are new, fresh, and exciting things that are coming up to chase them. And it's going to do one of two things. They're either going to overtake them and crush them, or they're going to energize DC and Marvel, and they're going to push DC and Marvel to regain their success because they can't be resting. And it'll be interesting to see which one, but I do think at the end of the day, to your question, EJ, I think streamlining for DC is 100% the way to go.
And they already had the Arrowverse end, and they're going to have one more season of Superman and Lois. So what's it called? I can't remember. Superman. There's so many iterations of that. There's like Clark and Lois. There's like Superman and Lois, and there's My Adventures with Superman. They just kind of mess with that dynamic so much in titles that I sometimes trip over what show I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that show. Actually, I really enjoy Superman and Lois. I really do. I really like that show. But they've already kind of cut that off, and that was the problem with DC to begin with. What we didn't really know about DC is that Warner Bros. Was in deep debt when they started DC, and it just got worse. So they were hoping that the DC movies would pull them out of it, which is why they kind of rushed the whole cinematic universe and sold every bit of IP to everyone they could find. Does the CW want to do some DC shows? Fine, let's do it. Let's do it. Give them money. Let's go. Are we going to make a Justice League movie in like 3 movies? Yeah, let's do it. Come on, Zach. Let's give it some juice. Let's go. And that hasn't necessarily been a great strategy, with the merge and everything. And there's even another rumor, they've even talked about it now, that they might be merging with Universal. So Peacock and HBO Max would be one. They've already
good. Let them have Universal. I don't care about that. Just as long as they stay the fuck away from Paramount.
Paramount's talked about it too, because Warner Brothers is open for business. They're still in debt.
I do not want David Zaslav anywhere near Paramount, because Paramount is the main thing that I care about from Paramount. The main thing that they put out is Star Trek, and I do not want David Zaslav and his philosophy on how to manage a company anywhere near Star Trek, because Star Trek's in a precarious enough position as it is.
Yeah, David Zaslav is kind of one of the most hard-nosed, just like capitalistic, look out for yourself executives I have seen in a long time in Hollywood, to be honest. One of the main reasons why DC is getting rebooted is because he thought that it would be good to start off with young actors that he can pay less, rather than
it sounds like him.
Star power that you would have to bring Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck and some of those guys. He's like, well, let me pay young actors I can pay less, and get better returns at. So he's not a huggy buggy guy. He's just a slasher, a budget slasher, and I would love to see Warner Brothers sold, honestly, but I don't want David Zaslav anywhere near anything. Like, I'm kind of sick of him at this point. So I would agree with you. We're almost done for the night, boys. I want to thank you guys for coming on, and I want to just shout out our commenter right there. Was it? It was Brian. Yeah, I agree with the Jonathan Majors situation. I kind of stayed away from that in this conversation because it's such a touchy subject, and I don't like going into things like that where there's too many people who have very strong agendas on both sides. So it's just whatever. It's a mess situation. Sucks for everyone involved. And, it wasn't like the Kane Dynasty situation was going to pop off anyway. It didn't seem like it had that much steam. So gives them an excuse to kind of right the ship, to be honest. So I think Marvel's better off for it, in my personal opinion.
Nathan, thanks for jumping in.
Yeah,
boys.
West Coast.
Nathan says, I have a multiverse hangover. I say let the best director win. Whoever can make the best standalone film should get to build their universe around it. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Well, in that case, James Gunn won, because let's be honest here. James Gunn got his role based on the strength of his Guardians of the Galaxy movies and his Suicide Squad movie.
Well, technically, the biggest grossing one is Joker. Joker is the one that made a billy. James Gunn has never made $1 billion film. They actually did offer.
Nobody wants a cinematic universe built off of Joker, because
they offered him the job. They offered Todd Phillips the job first. He said no.
Ew, I don't like it.
Oh, that's
they did.
amazing.
They offered him the job, and he said,
Hold
"No."
on, we need to full screen Dieter's face right now. Hold on, we need to full screen this. Hold on, we got to do some work here. One sec. We need the people to see. We need them to.
Ew. Gross. You don't like it. And now I am the sole host of the live stream. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. The last thing we wanted to talk about. Oh, no, they're back.
I have
He's
the
like,
power.
I've been waiting for this.
Like, if I make an ugly enough face, everyone will leave and I can talk about what I want to talk about.
So-
Doctor Who and Percy Jackson are the most hype I have right now. Honestly, fair.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is shaping up to be really, really great. Cannot wait to see the new season. Particularly, I got into Drag Race at just the right time because now I know who Jinx Monsoon is, and I cannot wait to see her on Doctor Who. It's gonna be freaking amazing.
Yeah, and I can't wait to kind of share more of this stuff with the audience. Like, we have a lot of what I wanted to kind of close out the night with is kind of talk about some of the ideas that we're going to be meddling with in the next year. And I'll kind of start off with that. You know, I definitely want to be able to dive into different content besides DC as well. I think we're like everyone here, we're kind of like DC and Marvel. Those are two great brands, but we want to be able to branch out. I would love to get more into video game reviews. I had a really good time.
Well, boy, do I have some good news for you, EJ. Coming this February, I will be doing my best to put together as quickly as possible if not full review, at least first impressions video of the newest Like a Dragon game, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which I am just counting down the days to. So you'll be getting that from me at least.
Excellent. And I will also, I'm looking forward tepidly to doing more stuff talking about voice actors, because that's always been a passion of mine. And obviously with the late Kevin Conroy passing away, you know, I've kind of thought about that a little bit. I've even said in my wildest dreams, like, if I could have a dream job, I would love to be a voice actor, because I've always done impressions, you know that, Dieter, and I've always enjoyed changing my voice to fit something. So I'd love to talk about the job of voice acting, kind of get more into animation and stuff like that for the channel. I'm really looking forward to kind of sharing that with the audience as we go forward in this new year. Dieter, I know you said you had a lot of things that you were looking forward to getting into. Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, so the project that I'm working on right now, I'm very excited about. It'll be coming up on the channel in probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. I have a big video I'm working on about. It's going to be basically an editorial of essentially the thesis is, I believe, calm down, internet. I believe that WandaVision and She-Hulk are the absolute pinnacle, the very, very best television shows that Marvel has ever released.
Well, hold on. Real quick.
Yeah.
I didn't know someone as based as you was going to be on this on this stream. That's really weird. Both you and Josh have just some of the most base takes I've heard in a long time. Keep them coming.
We're agreeing with each other too much. This is gross. We need to argue more in 2024. More arguments.
More to the point, I believe that, without giving too much away about the thesis of my video, I believe that there is a lot that not just Marvel, but the television landscape on the whole can learn from She-Hulk and WandaVision and can take from them. And so I have a video that I'm putting together about that I'm very, very excited about. It's something I've literally been cooking for, I want to say, about 6 months. It's been percolating in my head, and I just got tired of it, and I was like, I have to put this out in a video. So it's coming. Outside of that, we want to get back to some more Dieter Knows. We want to be talking more about those random pieces of trivia that maybe not everybody knows. I'll tell y'all, there is out there a recording about this really cool video I put together about Constantine 2 years ago for Halloween, and some folks in this little meeting, in this little video right now, still have not released it. Josh, did you remember that existed before I brought that up?
Oh, 100%. I know everything that exists. I got it all here. Do you want me to pull it up on screen? I'll put it right up on stream right now.
Release the Dieter cut. Release it.
Just my audio. Oh, God.
Release the Dieter cut.
No, I'll show people my file. It's the dusty file of Nights Past.
So coming this October, we are finally going to have a conversation about John Constantine that I've been wanting to have for 2 years. So
we'll release the Dieter cut. I promise we will.
It's happening.
It'll happen. Before we get to Josh, real quick, I forgot one thing I wanted to talk about. I'm also putting together a video. I'm still kind of percolating on the idea of just how divided the Superman fandom in particular is. You know, we have so many different versions of this medium of Superman, right? We have the Christopher Reeve Superman. We have the DCU, not the DCU, but the DC animated series with Bruce Timm. He had a quite different version of Superman. Henry Cavill had a different version. Obviously DCW, and then that's not even talking about the comics. If I'm being honest, none of those guys I mentioned share many qualities of each other. They're all very different, like distinctly different. The biggest thing they all have in common is that they have an S on their chest. Christopher Reeves was more of a goody two-shoes for the most part, and then he got really weird in the last couple of films where they had no direction. Henry Cavill, you know, we all know his story. Superman and Lois have theirs, and the DC animated version of Superman, I mean, at one point he was just straight out a, you know, kind of he was a fascist. There's no other way around it. Especially with some of his ideas on how things should go, and even going as dark as to beating up Shazam in one episode because of his jealousy. Like, went through some pretty dark turns. I just think diving into why we have so many different ideas about Superman and what he can and can't do. Is he a goody two shoes? Is he just a big clumsy galoot, as James Gunn put it, or is he just this god among men, like Zack Snyder has put it, other writers as well have put it. So like, I think that just having that conversation about our different versions of Superman, why every time we put something out, there's somewhat of a divisive reaction, even with some of the older content. So I think that would be interesting to dive into. I'm kind of putting that video together. I'll let Josh end it off. Our Spider-Man guy himself. What are you kind of looking into diving into? More Spidey, more webs, I'm thinking, or what are you thinking?
No, I'm actually, there's a certain someone that I really want to do a lot more coverage on the channel of, and I feel like if I just throw the photo up here, it'd be a lot easier.
Oh no!
Some more Taylor Swift content.
You know, Josh, you really are just such an anti-hero, but I appreciate you starting 2024 in style.
Dieter, I know what you're doing.
So,
hey, DJ, shake it off, man. Shake it off.
Oh man,
yeah, that was
boo this man. Boo.
Look, it's not our fault that Taylor Swift is the last great American dynasty.
Boo this man,
so,
boo.
I have to do that for Sarah. So now Sarah has a reason to watch the live stream in its entirety. So EJ, tell your wife that Taylor Swift was talked about, and there's a
we weren't even mean about her.
Yet, give us a moment. No, anime. My love for anime has grown deeper, stronger, wider. That's probably enough words. And I cannot wait to cover it more. And that is what I want to do in 2024 on the channel. I'm going to dive into anime. I'm going to do some breakdowns of some different shows. I'll also do Nathan loves it. It's got the crying, laughing emojis. I also want to do some videos about the anime industry. I actually recorded like a whole breakdown. There's, for anybody who's familiar, there's a lot of drama going on with Studio Mappa specifically, and I did a whole video breaking down some of the crazy things that were going on over at that studio and in the industry in general. And I had updated my mic software before I recorded. So of course it reverted back to the default mic being not my microphone. And I recorded the whole video and went to go edit said video, and it was silent, just me
No.
Although it's riveting to just watch my mouth flap up and down for 30 minutes, you need the sound. What I was saying and talking about was important. So I want to do a lot more of that as well. Talking about the industry, getting behind the scenes of anime more, and bringing that content to you guys. I hope you guys will look forward to that and be excited for it. I want to do some more lives. Last year for New Year's, we were a lot more ambitious. We played some games. We did some dramatic readings of a comic.
We did a dramatic reading with some friends,
With
which
some
was
friends.
one of the best times that I've ever had.
So
good
yes,
time.
we
It
all
really,
had a
it
really
was,
good
it was
time.
beyond my wildest dreams. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh my God, dude.
So
Boo,
I want to
this
do
man.
some. I want to do some more of this.
EJ, do we have bad blood right now? You opened this Pandora's box, Joshua. You should have known that I was trouble when we first met.
Oh my God.
That's better. Now we can talk amongst men. Oh man. For those of you that haven't tuned into our live streams in the past, I do love removing people and putting them in timeout every so often
Throwing him into
when
the
I feel
darkness.
it's necessary because I have the power to do so. EJ also has the power to do so, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know that he knows how to, so we'll keep it that way for now. I like being the one in control here. So,
I just want you to know, Josh, we are never, ever getting back together.
Do you think this will bring him back?
He's back. He's back. So,
By
anyways,
popular demand.
to wrap it up,
Josh, you need to calm down, man. You need to calm down.
I want to hear from you guys as well. So if you're watching this live or if you're watching this afterwards or whatever, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, wherever you can find us. Let us know what you want to see. What are you interested in? What universes, what nerdy things would you like to see from us? What do you want to listen to us talk about? And it's nothing. That's okay. You can write that in a comment as well. We accept all comments, positive, negative, or in between. Bring them on. We're ready for them.
No, I want to thank everyone that's joined us and has had some fun with us. Honestly, every time I do one of these lives, I'm reminded about why I do this, why we do this, why we started this.
Mm-hmm.
And I always
it's a good recharge for us. Yeah,
it really is. It makes me excited about doing content with you guys. It's been one of my most favorite, my favorite and most successful side project I've ever been involved in. I couldn't have chosen two more distinguished gentlemen to handle things, regardless of the Taylor Swift, fandom that Dieter has joined up. Like I said, at some point, if we put that fandom in with the Sonic fandom and the Star Trek fandom and the Snyder fandom, like imagine what type of monster that would create.
I honestly, the most memorable part, and I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings, the most memorable part I think that will stick with me for the rest of my life for your bachelor party, EJ, lots of stories. The most memorable part was looking around the city of Atlanta at all the women dressed in sparkly cowboy boots and shirts and glasses and thinking, Atlanta style is interesting. I didn't realize that I would be seeing this for a solid first day we were there until it was pointed out to me that Taylor Swift was there performing, I think, 2 concerts in Atlanta while at the same time we were. And then the light bulb turned on and it all came together for me. And I was like, oh, I understand now. You're dressed like this for a reason. Aha.
Yeah, man. I don't know how it happened. I mean, we just crossed paths that way. I tried to talk to Taylor, told her, listen, that's the week of my bachelor's party. We got to have you come to Atlanta another time. But my person
it sounds like you've got some champagne
person.
problems there, EJ. If anyone's
fact that I
wondering,
know-
I have exhausted my my knowledge of most Taylor Swift songs, and I do now just have a list up on Wikipedia of Taylor Swift songs, and I'm going to continue punning for basically the rest of the episode. So I think
That's how
it's
we're gonna
going
end
to
it right
be-
now.
Yeah, that seems like the move.
Nathan, how are the vibes in Atlanta? I need you to
How are the
comment
vibes?
right now.
We do need to.
I need you to
before he-
comment.
yes.
Let us know
How are the
how
vibes?
were the vibes at the bachelor party and the wedding. How
How
are
were
the
the
vibes?
vibes?
EJ, you carry on while we wait for Nathan's response to describe
ready
the
for it?
vibes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Oh my goodness. So there's gonna be a lot. Also, speaking of Taylor Swift, yes, let's go. Let's
The
go.
vibes were immaculate.
Immaculate. Rumor has it
They
she is going
surely
to show up
were.
in Deadpool 3. She's best friends with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. I forgot his
Jackman?
name real quick. I was going to say Hefner, and I was like, that's definitely not.
One more
close.
time for the people.
Yeah, Taylor Swift. She might be out there
Tay.
in that movie. That's kind of the rumor. So
Hey, Swizzle.
we might actually be talking about her in some type of capacity that actually goes in line with what we do soon. So look forward to that. But thank you guys all for hopping on. You know, I enjoy seeing all of you, talking to all of you, seeing Dieter's miraculous, beautiful beard and Josh's mustache. Honestly, Josh is the top 5 mustache. I would put that up there with Nick Offerman from
Thank
what's
you.
it called? Parks and Rec. I was gonna say Community.
One of
not
the
Par-
sweetest
Yeah.
things anybody has ever said to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I
And
listen.
now, in the
2024. I'm trying
words
to
of
turn
the
a page.
greatest songwriter
you know?
in American history, is it over now?
It is over now. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a good one. Nights out.
See you guys. Thank you so
Happy
much. Nights
2024.
out.